Now let me show you what caulking looks like in the real world application. I'm not sure when paintable caulk was done, but this house in '67 did not have any caulk on it. Now if you'll notice in the joints up here, see if I can, you'll see the joints right across here. There is no black lines. And what the black lines are either they're holes, they're skips, or they're where the caulk has shrank. You will notice that the paint doesn't save it. Paint does not cover your mistakes. All paint does is show your mistakes. Now this is where the wood has come apart, but you can still see the line there after I've repainted it. Okay, that dark line right there is going to stay there forever until I go and repair it with caulk. Caulking, and if you'll notice up here, you see, and then I've caulked in here, I've caulked down in here, I caulked all these boxes. It took me a tremendous amount of time. I caulked in all of these wood siding into the house, all the way along here, all the way along here, here. And when you do that, what you do is you seal the wood so that if you'll look very closely at all these boxes, they don't have any spider webs or any bullshit in them. The reason is because they don't have any corners to hide in, because it's all caulked in. And generally people will not caulk this much, but I wanted to experiment. And you can see here where the caulk is pulled off a little bit right there, and I'll go in and touch that up and then repaint it. Or you can see where it's in this area where it's pulled off. Alright, now let's go caulk something on the exterior. First thing is pay attention to your thermometer. The outdoors says 85 degrees. Now if you know it's low humidity, then you know that the outside of the house out here will probably be, since most people paint in the summer, the outside of the house will probably be 30 degrees hotter. Alright? Now, caulk is water-based and it dries through evaporation. That's how it dries. So you've only got so much time to put the caulk on. And what that means is if it's the hotter it is, then use less. Now I want to show you a trick that I saw on the internet that it looks good, but I just had to kind of laugh at it. There was a gentleman, hey kitty, $300 worthless cat. There was a gentleman that said if you run a line of tape underneath your caulking area right here, and this has already been caulked in, and you put a line of tape on top, you can get a perfect tape line. Well, that does work in theory, but this panel right here is 120 degrees. Right. One thing about caulking I want to stress, if you will look up, is that these panels right here and the new concrete siding, okay, a house needs to breathe. So that's the breathing vents, and these are the breathing vents. So you never want to take all these, it makes sense to take all these and caulk them in and go, oh God, that's great. You do not want to caulk any of these in at all. Because what will happen is they'll crack and buckle the inside of the house, and the house needs to breathe. It needs to have a way to get rid of its moisture. It expands and contracts with the heat and the cold, and they go through extreme heat and cold. So that's why. Now if you'll notice up here, okay, before in the other video I showed you where it was cracked out. And this is normal, but I've put the caulk back in there. Okay, I just touched it up. Then I'll come back and I'll hit it with my paint here. But this is just common sense. I've touched up a little bit here, a little bit here. But as you can see, I've used just enough, and I'll have to show you my technique on that. And up here, anywhere where I saw black. And what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit of pink paint or purple paint and go right over it. No problem. But the thing is, if you caulk in your joints and you caulk everything in, it looks like the whole house has been dipped in paint. Now you have to remember, when the guy built this house, he was the best craftsman I've ever seen in my life. All these pieces of wood were, he did one piece all the way across the top, and then he cut one here, one piece, and he didn't use any caulk in any of it, and it never, the wood never buckled, stretched, or anything. Now what I've done is I've caulked, years ago, I caulked in the inside of every one of these boxes, the outside of the fake bamboo. I caulked in this place here, this area, and I've also caulked in the, see if you can see that little red light, the door frame. And I've got a little bit more touch-up to do. Generally in door frames you want to use clear, so you don't get any white, like right here. But I don't matter. It doesn't matter to me that much. But generally you want to use clear. And remember, with clear caulk, it will go on white and it will dry clear. Now another tip about caulk, and I really want to stress this. You cannot use clear caulk on a house after you've got it painted. Okay, you can't, and there's a reason for that. Suppose I were to put clear caulk right here. Okay, and I go, oh God, I fixed that crack, you know, and I don't have to repaint it, and it's going to blend right in. Well, it won't. Clear caulk has a tendency, like flypaper, to catch dust, and it will catch every bit of dust in the air and turn brown, and that doesn't do you any good. Do all your caulking before you paint, or caulk and then paint over it. And we're going to caulk a little bit right here as soon as I get my gun. Remember, when you caulk, you want to know, for my son, you want to know what the ambient air temperature is outside. You want to know how hot the house is. And just like a car painter, pretty soon you'll begin to judge it, because you'll know how long a line you can make to work it in without it drying on you. Because remember, you're putting caulk on a hot house, it evaporates, it dries. When it starts to dry, you're screwed if you don't get it right. And it has to be smooth. If you can see here, these lines, okay, the caulk is put in so well that there's no telltale sign. It looks like the wood is blended into each other. That's what you want. All right, let me get my gun. Now we're going to caulk a line here, and I'll repaint it from up here to down about a foot. Now I will go down as far. You do not want to go the whole length of it, because by the time you get halfway with the heat, the caulk down here is going to begin to dry, and you're going to be screwed. You only want to put as much on as you can work with. A cooler day, you have longer time. And then I'll show you how to do boxes, which there's a trick to that too. So you want to have your water and your wet rag right next to you. Now you see my foot right here? You don't want the bucket 2 or 3 steps away, because there's hundreds of square feet on any of these houses. You want it, keep it right with you, where you can just reach down and put your hand in it. All right, now what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this left-handed, is like I stated before, you want to just lay the gun on at a 45-degree angle. I don't know, I think that's 90 degrees, maybe 180, whatever. You want to, and your tip is angled. It has to be angled, not square. I've seen some say use a square tip. That's a bunch of bullshit. Okay? Now look, you don't want to push the gun into there. What you want to do is you want to lay some pipe. You want to lay out a line. All you want to do is let the gun, watch my hands. Let the gun just, as you push on the handle, let the gun just come down. Okay, and you'll put on, notice the no drip. Okay, we put that right there on Mrs. Smith's interior, or that brand new concrete right down there. Then what you want to do is immediately, you want to put your finger on the top here, and you want to start at a 45, you don't want to start there, you don't want to start here, a 45-degree angle, just like the other, just like the gun. And you want to go slowly down and not let the caulk come out from your, you do not want the caulk to come out from your fingers. Now I took if you'll see that that is a perfect caulk finger. And remember, to all you painters and everything, caulk is your friend. So now I pulled it away from the, if you pull your hand away from the house or the wall, you wipe your fingers, okay? Now we go up again, 45-degree angle from the, and you go down very slowly, okay? Now you'll notice, you'll see that I've ridden the wave of the caulk all the way down. I've always kept it in control under my fingers, not on the sides. And what happens is I've got a really smooth layout right there. Okay? Now there's another thing I want to point out. In another video will be advanced caulking, which is another method I use. But every time that you put your finger on this wall, any finger, okay, skin cells are being taken off. That means the pad of your finger is being worn down. This is just normal. Now in some houses, concrete is, it's pretty smooth, but after you do 200 square feet of it, think about driving a half a mile or a kilometer with your finger stuck on the ground behind a car. That's what these exteriors or interiors do. And pretty soon, maybe after a day, your finger will start turning red because the pad is worn off, and then you need 2 or 3 days to recoup. Now that's just normal, but I have a trick for beating that. But if you have a 500,000 square house to do, you can't wait 2 days before you can do it. And if your finger is all red right here, and the thing about it, even if you have the pain and you want to go doing this, your natural instinct is to not do it, or to go very slowly, and there could be little nails or little kits, or if you have unfinished wood, that is a real bitch, okay, because that will tear up your hands in about 10 minutes. So I'm just giving my son some tips on what I've learned, and I want to show you, this is something I saw on the internet that was kind of funny. This gentleman here, he said this is how you make a perfect caulking line. You put your tape on the bottom, say you want to caulk right here, you put your tape on the top, and then you lay the caulk right here, okay? Now this is 120-degree heat. Now we're going to leave that for a couple of minutes. And what he does is he pulls the tape up and it's a perfect line. For the first thing, you don't have time to tape 150,000 square feet. We don't use tape on it, but I'll show you why in a few minutes.